Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by author, comedian, musician, actor, radio host, and podcaster. He was so happy to quote a reviewer who said he was, quote, utterly masterful, unquote. Take that, everyone from high school. Out on tour, telling jokes. His latest book is The Awesome Game. We welcome the bane of St. Ignatius in Cleveland, Dave Hill.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dave, welcome back. Let's go beyond the mic. You love comedy, rock and roll, hockey, among various other activities. How did your family set you up for excellence in all of these?
Oh, I guess, ultimately they let me do my thing. I grew up, with comedy, I grew up, I had 4 siblings and, so I guess it's just sort of natural to want attention. So I guess that's where the comedy comes. Rock and roll, I was encouraged to play instruments and stuff. And hockey, yeah, same thing. That was like something I wanted to do. I grew up just pretty lucky, comfortable. No complaints, really. Just kind of nice. Pretty easy breezy, relatively speaking, compared to, most people.
As the oldest of 6, I know the importance of trying to get my parents' attention.
Yeah, exactly.
How has comedy evolved from the beginning to now?
I think it's kind of constantly evolving, but, I think the one thing that's the same is really just kind of always only been interested in kind of entertaining myself. I'm not really thinking in terms of what anyone else thinks is funny. Yeah, it's a very selfish endeavor. But I think ultimately that's with any art form. I think that's how you have to be to really is to just do exactly what you want. So, but I don't know. I think my comedy is maybe evolving in that I'm incorporating more and more music into it as I go. And that's partially out of laziness, really. Just kind of wanting to leave the house once instead of twice and, be able to tell some jokes and goof around and play some guitar while I'm at it. Yeah, and I'm just kind of interested in, since I started, I really haven't, I haven't wanted to really do what other people are doing because I figure there's so many people doing it that I think if I can't add like something unique to it, there's really no point in doing it because there's already too many people doing it. So I just kind of think of like, oh, what can I add to this art form or whatever that's not already being done all the time by a million different people. Which is not me saying like, oh, I'm the most original performer of all time or anything like that, or not knocking what anyone else is doing. I'm just trying to like, add my own thing to it or whatever.
Which comedians inspired you growing up?
Growing up, I mean, Andy Kaufman, Bobcat Goldthwait, Chris Elliott, Steve Martin, Letterman, Dick Cavett. I'm trying to go back to when, as a kid, and then in high school and stuff. But I would say I'm probably forgetting people, but there's some, Fred Willard, all the Christopher Guest movies and Eddie Murphy, when I was like in grade school and stuff. Yeah, probably those guys. And then, there's so many that I admire. And, especially now, in the last, since I've been doing it and seeing so many people there, it's kind of endless. But that would be the ones, yeah, from when I was growing up, probably the ones that inspired me the most. Pee Wee Herman, I forgot to say Pee Wee Herman. It's endless.
As you head out on tour, you get to see so many talented people.
Mm-hmm.
Who really makes you laugh?
Oh, gosh. I mean, that's another one. That list is much longer. I should also say that I've had this cold and I took a nap a little bit ago, so my brain is thawing a little bit. So I'll forget to mention so many people. But I mean, there's Todd Barry, Janine Garofalo, Claire O'Kane, it's kind of endless. Sam Simmons in Australia, Neil Hamburger, Rich Fulcher. Gosh, it's endless. There's just so many.
Well, let's wake you up. It's time for the Rockin' 8 random questions answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Dave, there's no pressure. A few years ago, you shared your love of Marmite, avocado, and sriracha and dream toast. What's your current toast sensation?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm always, I try to trailblaze as much as I can with toast. And, there's many things I don't like about the internet and social media, but one thing I really do like about it is that people have really supported my love of toast and with people sending me, someone recently sent me like pretty much a life supply of jams and jellies. From that, a basic move would be you have 2 slices of toast, then you just use one flavor on one and one flavor on another. And that's a very basic move, but I can't tell you how much it excites me to do. Sitting there knowing when I'm eating one slice of toast, knowing that I have a whole other toast experience right in front of me, that's a great thrill. I can tell you, getting back to Marmite, they do make peanut butter Marmite, but I really like to put Marmite and butter on a slice of toast and then put peanut butter on it. And that's like kind of like a more potent version of the what the pre-made version of it. Another thing I like to do, and this was inspired by sesame noodles, where you get and you add like the chili oil. I'll have like toast with peanut butter and put hot sauce all over it. To my knowledge, I invented it, but I'm sure great minds. There's probably some 5-year-old who did it. Yeah, those would be the big ones. Yeah, those are good ones. There's ones, I haven't done this in a while, but I used to just like make toast and then spread chopped garlic on it, like a thick layer. But that's really when you're living alone kind of move, which I don't. So
mine was making homemade garlic toast and having the house stink for 3 days.
Yeah, I love it. I used to drink, not drink, eat. I love garlic so much that I used to eat it so much, like crushed garlic in, just everything, that I just was coming out of my pores, and I'd be at home and my mom always used to think it was the smell. She always thought it was because I was out like drinking with my friends. She's like, yo, I smell alcohol. And then my sister would always be like, my car always smells when you borrow it. And like, they kept thinking it was just because I was like a booze bag. And then one day I was like walking across the kitchen with the open jar of crushed garlic, and they were both like, that's it. That's the smell. That's what you smell like. And so I was like, yeah, this is what it is. I'm not drinking. I probably was drinking to some extent, but it wasn't like I was drinking so much that it was just coming out of my pores.
But garlic
definitely was. So I took offense. I was hurt by it.
Which NHL current player would you like to get into an on-ice fight with?
A fight? Oh, gosh. Trying to think. I'm not, there's no player like I ever hated, really. There's teams I don't like, but I've never like had like of that feeling towards a player. Cause if you're playing hockey, then you're already doing something that I love. So I can't really have that much animosity towards you. I know that's like a pretty soft answer, but I genuinely tend to not really have too much animosity towards anyone other than just kind of evil people doing bad things in the world. Those people, that I could give you a list, but I won't right now. But, but in general, someone just playing hockey or doing something that I like, I'm probably not going to want to fight them.
If anyone knows you online, they know of your parkour brilliance.
Sure.
How many times have you been accidentally racked by a cone?
I've been hitting the nuts by one, I think, on video. I mean, anything that happens, well, I'll definitely use it in the video. If something goes wrong, like, I definitely taken a shot to the nuts with a cone. Nothing too bad. I would say the worst things that have happened, I mean, not that I do anything that's like too...
Jackass type.
Yeah, like I'm not really putting myself at too much risk, knock on wood, but I did really hurt myself in Scotland last summer. I bought a BMX bike off a guy on Facebook Marketplace, and I just started riding. I bought it. It's kind of really turned into a lot of what I do now, because it sort of made it, I started riding it into my shows there, and then I've been riding on stage, on the bigger shows like with Tenacious D and stuff. But I bought this bike, and then I was the River Leith, if I'm saying it right, that goes out through Edinburgh out to Leith on the seaside. I was riding my bike along the river, and at one point it was really shallow, and I was like, I'll ride my bike across the river. And I was like, of course I might as well film this while I'm doing it. So, not considering the fact that I have no idea what's at the bed of this river, as shallow as it was, but it was, of course, like just moss or whatever, green slime. And I wiped out pretty hard. And then, having wiped out once, I was like, well, I have to get back to the other side of the river to go get my phone. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, I'll ride back. Rather than walk, I'm like, I'll just ride my bike again across the river.
And you wiped out again.
I wiped out again, but way worse the second time. I mean, obviously the water was only like, at this point, 6 inches high or whatever. But I wiped out so hard that I was just screaming practically in pain, and like these old ladies were walking by just kind of looking at me like, what is he doing? With no sympathy for me, because I certainly didn't deserve. I think they sensed that I was just doing something idiotic, and I was. So
why'd you sell your Gibson Tony Iommi SG Special, and what'd you replace it with?
Oh, that's a good question. I sold it because I have too many guitars, if that's possible. And I'm going to say too many because I live in an apartment. If I lived in a house, I never would have sold any that I've sold recently. But there's just not enough room. And I sold it because I have two other SGs that are better than that one, or to my tastes. And I wanted to buy Charvel Warren DeMartini Cross Swords guitar, which is what I did buy. I mean, it's staring at me right now across the room.
Time for an instant follow-up. How many do you have? How many guitars do you have? And what's your daily driver?
I don't know how many I have. I might have like 35 or something. I don't know. I stopped counting because it started concerning me. It changes all the time. I mean, the Charvel, because it's the new toy in the house. That one. I have a Gibson SG I love. I have one of the main guitars that I play a lot is an Illuminati Guitars Orion, which is just an amazing guitar and a total joy to play. And it's aluminum, has an aluminum neck. And that's been kind of my main guitar on tour and stuff since I got it, really, like last year and a half. That. And then Dunnable Asteroid, which actually I don't really play much at home because it's a Flying V and it's meant to stand and rock people. But that and the Illuminati are probably the main ones that I've had on the road in the last year. But at home, I'm kind of always, because they're also fun. I mean, I got some cool Schecters recently that are really cool. An amazing guitar by this guy, Les Godfrey, this just brilliant artist, guitar builder and player, who made me just this total beast that I want to take on tour, but I don't have a case that is good for it yet, but it's amazing. What else? I'm forgetting. It's kind of endless. I have an amazing Les Paul. I have I don't know. They're just kind of fun, and I love guitars because they're like interactive art, you know? You can kind of look at them and they're cool, and then you pick them up and they're cool, and then you can kind of make art out of existing art and a totally different art than they are on their own. And I don't know, there's cool. I bought a Russian guitar, and that one's really cool, and it's weird, and it's kind of inspires me to play different things. So I don't know. I kind of always have a different one in the living room. I kind of swap it out every few weeks.
We're in the middle of the Rockin' 8 with Dave Hilby on the mic. Dave, what was the worst moment of Fordham University, and have they renewed the trespass order?
My worst moment? I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. I probably just kind of stupid, young, drunken things, you know? Probably just dumb. I think I smashed up my apartment once, which was really dumb, but 20 years old, and you're like, so I just started throwing stuff around, but that was just kind of a destructive, stupid age where you're like, I don't know, like when I think about like going out and like being a stupid drunk college kid, and we used to like do like, I hate litter, and I hate, but we used to just do stupid shit like, drink a 40 ounce of beer, a 40 ounce bottle, and smash it on the sidewalk and stuff. Stupid things that I just find like horrible behavior. We used to do stuff like that, but hopefully I've made up for it.
So what's the best Black Sabbath song ever?
Oh gosh. So many to choose from. Maybe Symptom of the Universe, or Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, maybe. I don't know, or I could go like Heaven and Hell, maybe, because it'd go with some Dio era Sabbath.
Checkers, chess, or Uno?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't really play any. I haven't played any of them in forever, but I guess checkers for just kind of ease of, I used to like backgammon. There was a period when I liked backgammon when I was a kid. But I have to say, I don't have that much patience for games of any sort. I kind of, I like to hang out and talk or play guitar. And those are kind of the two things I like to do if I'm just sitting around.
What's the best thing about your dog, Lou?
Oh, it's hard to pick one thing. She's just my buddy, we go everywhere together. She goes, when I'm in New York, when I'm home, we go, unless I'm going to a restaurant, we're together. I take her everywhere. Like, it's gotten a little looser, like, since the pandemic, where you can kind of walk in places, people kind of do it everywhere now, but I've always just kind of just blatantly walked in places I knew I wasn't supposed to. And I just, my girlfriend would always be like, oh, I got kicked out of this place by trying to walk in with her. And I was like, I just walk in, I don't look at anyone. I just go on my business. And so I've been doing it since she was a puppy. She goes everywhere. So we're just best buds.
Time for the back half with Dave Hilby on the mic. When you first get to a city for a show, what's the first thing you look to find in the city?
In the city?
Yeah.
A bathroom. No. I don't know. Just kind of obvious things. I mean, it depends. Like, if I have any time, if I'm in Europe, I'll go running. If I'm like outside, if I'm in any like old city, which is, which would be more Europe, basically, I'll kind of map out guitar stores and churches, and I'll map out a run based on those things, and I'll put the guitar stores first, so I'm not too sweaty, so I can play the guitars, and then the churches later, even though, they're just from an architectural and historical perspective, not really from a religious perspective do they interest me. But yeah, I'll go check those out. But I guess now that I'm saying it, I would say guitar stores. I'll usually check out. I don't know why, because I know I'm not going to buy one, but it's just, I kind of like, there's something about just going in and just kind of like ogling guitars. And once in a while, I'll buy something.
What's the one thing you take on tour, a comfort item from home?
That I have to bring? I don't know. I'm like usually bring like books, and I bring usually a hockey jersey so I can sort of get up to trouble in the mornings. That's usually my go-to look for just kind of being a menace around town. Put on a hockey jersey and some running shoes and go for a run. But yeah, I mean, I have the stuff that I use in the show, my guitar, that would be the main thing I always have. Even like before I incorporated the guitar into my shows so much, I would still always have one on the road. Even when I was doing shows with no guitar, I would still always have one in the hotel room. And now I use them in the shows all the time. So that would be the main one, because I just, when I'm hanging out at the hotel room, that's what I'm doing anyway if I'm not sleeping.
If you did write a follow-up to the Austin game, what story that got cut from the first one we'd read about?
I don't know if anything got cut from it. Well, there was things I wanted to write about, that there just wasn't time to do it. Like I wanted to go, there was a women's team that plays in the Himalayas, and I really wanted to go and skate with them. And COVID kind of screwed that up, that, it kind of, because I really started writing the book during COVID, and then it took so long for kind of things to get, to where I could just go places, that by the time I was doing that, I couldn't, like the people that I was in touch with in the Himalayas were like, oh, you can't come, we're not really playing now because of COVID. And so, yeah, I would like to do that and just go to more places. Colombia, I was going to go to Colombia, I didn't get there. That was kind of my favorite thing of the book, was kind of going, going to Kenya and connecting with people over sort of this unlikely thing.
And you continue to support that Kenyan team even today.
Yeah, I mean, there's people doing way more than I am, but yeah, I think it's so cool what that it's, growing and cool to see these kids getting into hockey. It's pretty awesome.
Why is it frustrating for you seeing hockey not as the number 4 sport in America? I
just think it's such a great sport, and then when you spend time in countries where it is more popular, and I'm just like, oh, for me, when I go to Canada and you walk down the street and you look in assuming it's hockey season, if you look in a window, the hockey game is going to be on. And I'm like, that as it should be, whereas in America, even the Rangers did pretty well this year, making it to the, semifinalists. But even then, it wouldn't be like you could walk into any bar in the neighborhood and the game would be on. I'd have to think about where I would go to see it. Just not even with the Rangers doing as well as they did this past season, or in the playoffs at least, it's just not big enough to my liking. Other than the Islanders, which NHL hockey team annoys you the most, and why? I shouldn't say this. I mean, Florida, the Panthers. I shouldn't say this because I think that hockey growing in all places is sort of crucial to the growth of the game, of course. But I still have this kind of lingering resentment of warm weather teams like Tampa, Florida, Vegas. Really the only one that doesn't bother me at all is the LA Kings, and I think that's just because they've been around so long and have such a they had Marcel Dion and the Gretzky for a time. And so they're kind of grandfathered in, but the newer teams, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way I don't know why.
So obviously you're going to want the North Stars to be back in Minnesota.
Oh, 1,000%. My friend Rhett Miller would be angry with me for saying that, but yeah, for sure.
Well, knowing that, Dave, if you could be the NHL commissioner, what one change would you make to the game you loved so much?
Like to the way the game itself is played?
Yeah.
I think the 3-on-3 overtimes are really stupid. I don't like those.
What would you do instead?
I would just keep it, 5 skaters. I feel like doing the 3-on-3, I know it's like meant to create some sort of excitement, but I think it's an insult to the sport and to the fans. I think it's pandering. And I think it calls into question, like, oh, well, if we're doing this now, why don't we just do it all the time? It's like Crystal Pepsi or something, Crystal Pepsi was among them, it was so dumb because it makes you go like, well, wait, why are you doing, was something wrong with the brown Pepsi? I mean, granted, I don't like Pepsi at all, but it's just, that's what it's the 3-on-3 is so dumb. I hate it.
Well, doesn't the shootout pander also?
Yeah, but I don't mind that too much if you're going to, because eventually everyone's got to go home. I mean, I do think it does pander. I would just go with ties personally.
I'm all for that.
I don't, why, I know maybe it's not as exciting, but I think that's a big problem with this, especially when you go to the games. I don't like this thing. I guess all of it's meant to like, oh, keep people excited and engaged and stuff. And I'm against that. It's like, there's enough excitement. You don't need to have a t-shirt cannon. You don't need to have like the ice babes or whatever they're called, which is nothing against women cleaning the ice, but like this thing where it's like, oh, let's get sexy girls skating around and let's have children playing in between periods and let's do all this stuff. I think the biggest bummer for me, like when you go to an NHL game, is they do all these things and I don't really go to many other sporting events, but I'm guessing it's the same. But they do all these things to like make the crowd not feel like they're there together. Because, in old grandpa's time, you would just be there in between plays, in between periods, and there'd be nothing going on. So you had a chance to hear like, oh, there's a bunch of crazy people over in that corner, and you kind of hone in on them, like, and all this stuff happens. And I think it unifies the crowd, or like kind of that creates real excitement when you give the fans a chance to realize that they're actually there together and not constantly try to distract them with some stupid fake game on the Jumbotron and this and that. Like, I went to pro games in Poland, and the fans there are the craziest sports fans I've ever seen anywhere. And they don't have any bullshit going on. And, in between periods, they're chanting and stuff. Like, I'm in line for a beer and the fans are still chanting in between the first and second period. You would think that it was the last minute of a tie game in the third period, how fired up they are. Like, but, I think part of it is because they don't have like all this stupid distraction. Like, oh, we got to entertain people every second with some sort of mindless, bullshit. Anyway, that's what I would change, I guess. Less bullshit.
John Oliver loosely stars in your latest music video for your band Valley Lodge. Who is the one person you need to be in your next video?
Dick Cavett, just because he's one of my favorite people. Yeah, or maybe I Dick Cavett, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Who's the most dangerous of the dangerous snakes who hate bullshit?
Okay, I mean, I guess I would be the most dangerous one since I'm the founder of the gang. But it's growing. I don't know. There's thousands of members all over the world at this point. So, maybe there's someone out there that's more kicking over more cones. Who knows? They're probably out there.
We talked about this for a moment last time, but I wanted to give you more time this time. How did Joe Franklin influence you as a writer, comedian, and author?
Joe Franklin. I mean, I guess I would say Joe Franklin. I mean, among the many things, for the listener, they may not know, Joe Franklin was sort of regional talk show host in the New York area. And I think one of the things I love most about him was how eclectic he was, whether it was out of necessity or accidentally or what. But I mean, he would have such a range of guests on that, and at least pretend to be absolutely equally interested in all of them. So I think that would be probably, I mean, the clip of him interviewing King Diamond that you can watch on YouTube is perhaps the greatest television I've ever seen in my life. So I think that would be that he would interview Lucille Ball and then King Diamond. Not, there was a bit of gap in the years between when he did that, but yeah, he would just have all sorts of people on the show, and I think that was pretty amazing. I don't think anyone else has really. I don't know. I mean, once you get King Diamond on your show, you're kind of really spreading out moving the goalposts quite a bit.
Dave, who would call you their biggest cheerleader?
Oh gosh, probably some of my friends. I would hope, without naming names. I don't want to. I mean, but I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for my friends. Maybe, I mean, Lucy, my dog Lucy, probably would if she could talk. Maybe.
Time for one big question with Dave Hill. Beyond the mic, he's out on tour, telling jokes, making people smile, and watch out for those street cones. They're going down. What's your best memory of your mom, Bernadette?
Probably like going ice skating with her, and before she got sick, we would go. At least a few times a year, we would go, to the public skating sessions with the organ music and all that. And I would always be like the only, sort of younger person there. And we would stop off and we would usually go to dinner first. And one of my favorite times, there was this Mexican restaurant in Cleveland that you might know. It's unfortunately closed, called Luchitas. And it was my favorite Mexican restaurant on earth, partially because it was the first one I ever went to, but then I managed, still compared it to many Mexican restaurants, including ones in Mexico, and I still say it's one of the best in the world, or was one of the best in the world. And one time, and my mom, she would, no matter how many times we went to any restaurant, like Mexican food, whatever it was, she would always act like it was the first time she'd even heard of it. And I'd be ordering from the menu, and she would be like, how do you know what all this stuff is? I'm like, cause we ate here last week, and it was just and also with Mexican food, I mean, I'm not saying it all tastes the same, but there's quite a variety, but also if you get tacos or a quesadilla, you can't lose really. You just kind of order, and you're going to win, because if it's a good restaurant, it's all going to be great. So those kind of things. And she would pronounce tacos. She couldn't, you're going to be like, Mom, it's tacos. It would just be the first time she had heard the word, no matter how many years we've been going. And then one time we each had a margarita before going skating. And then she was like, we have to get some gum. I don't want anyone to know we were drinking before we came here. I'm like, Mom, no one's gonna question that you had one margarita before coming here. Anyway, but yeah, those kind of memories, I would say.
Time for the impossible question with Dave Hill beyond the mic. What is the definition of your soul in 10 words or less?
My soul? Trying to be kind while doing my thing. I don't know. That's maybe my ethos, but my soul, black as coal. No, white as snow. I don't know. Hopefully a good soul.
He has more than 35 guitars, used to enjoy backgammon as a kid and wants you to watch him on tour. Where can people find you online?
I have a website that I'm bad at updating at davehillonline.com, though I keep the tour dates up to date, and so that's good for that. And then my Instagram at Mr. Dave Hill, at Mr. Dave Hill. I'm on Patreon now, same thing, patreon.com/Mr. Dave Hill. And those are kind of the main areas that I keep things updated. So yeah, and I'm on TikTok and Threads and stuff, but Instagram's kind of where I put most of my exploits, I guess.
Out on tour making people laugh, his latest book is The Awesome Game. Dave Hill, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic. If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app.